Mother Knows Death, starring Nicole and Jemmy and Maria QK.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Mother Knows Death. We have an update in the death of Celeste Rivas involving the rapper slash singer slash whatever, David, a child who was severely burned from a freak accident involving their tablet, a discovery leading to investigators to think that there was someone trying to harm a child during Halloween trick-or-treating, an update on butt breathing, and a dead body that was found in a house that was auctioned. All that and more on today's episode.
Okay, so last month we reported that a teen girl was found dead in the trunk of singer David's Tesla. So as reported, that girl was identified as Celeste Rivas. So there hasn't been that much information that has come out after her death, which I thought was really unusual because this was huge the week it came out and all of the speculation was happening, but nobody's been arrested in the crime yet and nobody really has any understanding of how she died. Was it a homicide? Was it an accident? What happened, right? So now the owner of the house he was renting in LA has hired a private investigator to go through the home, and in that search, the private investigator found farm tools that he believed could be used to get rid of a body.
Yeah, so he didn't specifically say what the farm tools were, so who knows? But, I mean, one point to pick out is that he's living in the Hollywood Hills of LA, and the guy was just like, there's no reason on earth that you would ever need these tools at this property, whatever it was.
Or most people in residential properties.
And did you see that house, by the way? It was ridiculous.
Insane.
It's insane, right? So another thing is, like, I'm sure most people that could afford a $20,000 plus a month payment for their living situation are probably having private gardeners or landscape people. Like, why would they even have that shit?
It's just very unusual to have equipment like that. What else could it be used for? But it also is extreme speculation to say you can get rid of a body with it.
You can get rid of a body with a scalpel blade if you really wanted to. Like,
yeah, there's a million ways you can get rid of a body.
And like, let's say this too, because I don't think that we've had any confirmation of this, that she was actually dismembered, because she could have been disarticulated because of decomposition. We've talked about that when we first talked about this story. So I don't know that anyone was necessarily trying to get rid of her in her body in that way, because we don't know for sure that she was actually dismembered. No one's confirmed that, correct?
No, and we also don't know for a fact that she was murdered. Like, obviously it seems like it's going to lean that way, but what if she got...
I think that they know for sure it was murder because they're conducting it as a homicide investigation, because otherwise why would they?
Yeah, but wouldn't you conduct it that way if it's undetermined? Because right now we don't have a manner or cause of death.
Possibly, but I don't know to that extent, honestly, because they know way more than they're telling us. Like, they're saying, all we know is like kind of what came from the news, basically. That medical examiner has been tight-lipped as shit about this. They haven't said anything. So we don't know what they saw. We don't know. They're saying, like, I'm sure the toxicology is back by now. They know what's happening, but they're just not saying anything because they're trying to investigate this properly and get a person to be responsible for this.
I think it was likely she was murdered, but at the same time, you have to think, like, she could have OD'd in the house and somebody put her in the car because they're like, this isn't my problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely possibilities of other things happening, and we don't know if they saw signs of strangulation or signs of previous abuse. Were her bones broken? Did she have a gunshot wound? Like, we don't know any of that stuff. But I know that everybody keeps saying that she was dismembered, and that would obviously change things a little bit if she was indeed. I just think that a person can become dismembered naturally too. So I just think that the speculation is pretty, it's a lot.
The way the news worded that she was dismembered made me, who barely knows anything about what you do at all, think that they misunderstood what they heard.
Well,
because it wasn't like
we don't know.
Yeah, it was just worded very weird.
Yeah.
And like you're saying, she could have been decomposing and her limbs could just start like slipping off and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, and they'll be able to tell that, especially because they'll be able to see knife marks and saw marks if there were even on the bones, even if most of the soft tissue is gone, they'll be able to tell if it was that. And they'll also be able, they're going to do, or they've already done, like all of this is already done and they know. They're just trying to hone in on this investigation. So who hired this guy to go there?
The owner of the rental property, which I thought was odd, but maybe they're just worried they're going to be liable in this case at all, so they're trying to clear their name of anything.
See, it's interesting too, because you would think that if that's where David was living, that if they were investigating him, then that would be off limits for some private investigator to go there.
Unless he's, I mean, at this point, is he not paying the rent? Does he not live there anymore? Did he leave everything behind?
That would be considered, I mean, if the police did consider that to be a crime scene, that wouldn't be allowed to be visited by anyone unless they were done with it. So
well,
there's just
I'm not really sure of the logistics of all of that, but this is what the guy is saying that he found.
No, I know. I believe that. I mean, even I know that everybody thinks it's just based upon what we've heard in the news that he's dating this girl that's a young teenager, and we were talking about this. We talk about this on every episode, that sometimes like guys are in a shitty situation because people could lie about their age, and if he didn't know that she was a child, there's a possibility that he did know, but there's also a possibility that he didn't know, because I believe that her friends of theirs had said that they thought she was a USC college student.
Yeah, but she's also a missing minor on a missing poster, so like that not very far away, an hour from where she's living. So I just find it very hard to believe.
Do you know who's missing in the Philadelphia, Camden area, New Jersey right now? Like, no. Do you know?
Well, I see stuff online. It's like,
but you have a mental picture of all of the people that are missing that you would know that you were with one. Like,
no, but I would remember if I knew the person and they were living in my house.
Yeah, but you haven't seen every single person that's missing.
It's just
like that's not even. I understand that seems weird, but I mean, I saw today a person that is missing. I see it almost every day that there's a person in our town that's missing, or I don't know who they are. Like, I don't pay attention to.
The point is, there's a lot of unanswered questions in this. What was the nature of their relationship? What was going on with her family? Was she actually considered a missing person, or did her family know she was with him the whole time? Because there was that point brought up too.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that could be brought up with it. But regardless, like, even if he's completely innocent somehow and not involved, because it did seem like he wasn't in town around that time, but we don't know that either. But he's not going to just be sitting there open, because this is like a really big deal. And his lawyer is even being really quiet. Like, they just want to make sure they totally clear him if he is innocent. Or
his lawyer is Blair Burke, who did the Harvey Weinstein trial. So I don't think they're going to be saying anything until they know exactly what they're working with yet. But other information came out from the private investigator, which was that this Tesla that she was found in was David's everyday car and was regularly used until February, and he reportedly got a new car at that time. And he had 45 parking citations as of February, and the next one wasn't until September when the car was towed. So this PI is saying that security footage showed that the car was last moved from its normal spot in front of David's home on July 29th and parked just a few blocks away, where it stayed until a neighbor filed a complaint on August 29th. The car was towed a week after that. She was found 3 days after the car was towed. So they believe now that she's been in the car since July 29th, when I believe when the story first came out, they had only thought she was in there for a week or two.
Yeah, which we were like, no, she wouldn't be severely decomposed that quick.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's interesting. Do you think, like, it totally could be possible? I mean, if he's living in a house like that and has money like that, isn't there a possibility that there could be like assistants and other people living at the house and he could have left the girl there? And
But who moved the car? Because don't Teslas have cameras on them?
I don't know. I'm sure they looked at all this. It's just like the Brian Koberger case. Like, remember, they got murdered, right? Was it right before Thanksgiving? I feel like it was like the week before Thanksgiving or something. And everybody was just like, what's going on? What's going on? And then all of a sudden they had this huge case build and dropped it like after Christmas and was just like, we just arrested this guy, his DNA, like they had phone records, DNA, all this. Nobody knew what was going on behind the scenes. Like,
Well,
why are they going to tell people? It's just,
we did buy the autopsy report, which they said they'd release after they determined everything. So we will
I
eventually
want my
be getting it in the mail.
$32 back.
Yeah, seriously. Okay, a 9-year-old boy had fallen asleep with his tablet charging on the bed next to his head, and at some point in the night, the metal necklace he was wearing got caught on the cord and sparked a fire on his neck, which left his neck, head, and hands with burns.
Yeah, we've had this before. A couple cases in the gross room too. It's a big thing that they say that kids shouldn't sleep with a tablet or even a phone in their bed. It should be on something hard like a nightstand table or something like that because it just increases the risk that it's going to catch on fire. The cord was wrapped around the kid's neck a little bit and he had a necklace on which definitely didn't help. And I don't know, like the mom, I guess it was the mom was interviewed and said something that he had severe burns and he was electrocuted, which I don't. First, he wasn't electrocuted because when you're electrocuted, you're dead. So he would have gotten an electric shock, perhaps. But I don't even know if that was really the mechanism of what happened, or because it could have been something to do with the metal necklace conducting with the cord, especially, if the cord loses the plastic on the outside of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like if it tears where you're plugging it in because kids like rip it out, like that could have conducted something that could have caused an electric shock. But it was more than likely because it was wrapped up in the blanket and it just caught on fire.
It's just so scary how easily it could happen.
It is. And the recommendations like from I don't know what it is, National Fire Prevention, whatever. It's just so like not practical. It says every single time you have a device, you should only charge it with the charger that it came with. And then if you can't do that, you have to get another one from the manufacturer. Like, I'm sorry, but I'm not paying $30 for an Apple charger when I could get 2 of them for $10 on Amazon. You know what I mean? And I think most people think that way. The chargers don't last. Even the ones from Apple don't last. You're replacing them multiple times. I can't even tell you. You lose them. The kids lose them. I feel like I have them all over the place because they're just constantly getting lost and not working or whatever. It's just not practical to think that way. So I guess the safest way is to just make sure that you don't have it laying on fabric.
Well, yeah, and I don't think children in general should be having the device plugged in right next to them because you would just want to minimize the risk anyway.
Yeah, it just sucks because this kid's got he had to go to a pediatric burn unit and he's got a burn around his neck, and of course wearing the necklace didn't help,
No, because it basically just heated it up.
Yeah, it's just a freak thing, but I feel like we've talked about this. I might even have pictures on Instagram like years and years and years ago, a couple different cases of this involving the charging cord and kids getting burned, especially like around their neck.
Okay, so every Halloween we have stories about candy being tampered with, and this year in Canton, Michigan, people are claiming that there were sewing needles found in candy.
Yeah, I mean, that's not an accident. There's no way that there would accidentally get a sewing needle into a piece of candy. That was a big thing when I was a kid. It was that and like razor blades. So mom and pop would be like, we need to check your candy, which I always thought was kind of bullshit. I'm like, you just want to take whatever candy that you want out of my pile. But we did a high profile death dissection on Halloween deaths involving candy a couple years ago. Remember that? And really the only death that has ever been reported from a kid taking Halloween candy and dying is from the 70s, where a kid had a pixie stick that was filled with cyanide and died. That's the
Listen,
only reported case.
I'm not saying this didn't happen, but you also know how easy it would be in this day and age with people wanting to do anything to get famous on the internet to go in your house and stick one in and say you found it. It's impossible to trace back that you did it or you didn't.
Yeah, I mean, that's totally possible, but was it like something that went viral as a social media video, or did they actually just call police and say,
No, but if you call police, like your picture's gonna be on the news. And
yeah,
I'm just saying
I
people
don't.
can do it with malintent. And I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm just saying like as somebody that embroiders and has a million sewing needles in my house, it would be so easy to take the kids' candy and just stick one in and be like, "Oh my god, I found this!" And we
Well,
went to
maybe
these
they should
4
be checking
blocks.
your house.
Well, no,
I,
because I
I
would
just
never.
I don't understand the point. Like, it would suck if a kid bit into that. But honestly, like, if you're biting straight forward, you wouldn't, like, a child isn't going to stick an entire fun size, whatever it was, Twix or Milky Way in their mouth at once. You usually bite it and you would bite right into it. Even if they did put it in their whole mouth, they would chew and they would get stabbed in their mouth, and that would kind of suck. But, like, you wouldn't really, it really wouldn't do anything. I don't understand the point of it.
I'm also
The
only
cyanide and the pixie stick gets the job done if that's what you're trying to do, right? Like, I don't get it.
I'm only kind of like questioning this too because in the picture the sewing needle is sticking so far out of the candy wrapper. And I just think like you can stick the whole thing in without somebody noticing. So why would you have half of it sticking out? It doesn't even make any sense. If you were trying to actually hurt a child, it doesn't even make any sense to have it so obviously sticking out of the wrapper.
Yeah, it's weird. But I mean, in that death dissection we did, there was a lot of different interesting stories that were happening over the years. And a big one that was happening that year, I think I wrote that in 2022, was that there were a lot of drugs that were being smuggled into the country, like in nerds boxes and stuff, like illegal street drugs, fentanyl and stuff. These drugs, instead of being white pills, they were like colored pills that would be attractive to children, like stuff like that. That's scary too. But it's the same thing. Like, if you're pushing fentanyl, like, why would you give it to a kid? Like, why would you waste your drugs on kids? You know, it costs
Well,
money.
yeah, like there's obviously evil people that want to harm children, but I just think this is a waste of time. And it's not like, I mean, I guess in theory, the kid could swallow the sewing needle and have damage, right? But
Yeah, and have a perforation. Like, it's just a very weird way to injure someone. It's just
I'm
weird.
just saying, like, I'm questioning it because of how it was placed and everybody's desire to be on TV and the
Yeah,
news
it's
and
true.
social media today. So I'm definitely not saying it didn't happen, but I think it's unusual that the needle was sticking out so obviously far. So this episode is brought to you by The Gross Room.
Guys, we have this week's high profile death dissection is on Lindsay Clancy. Remember the mom who killed her 3 children and tried to kill herself, which may be a result of severe postpartum depression that was managed with lots and lots of psychiatric meds. So make sure you check out that post. And we've done a bunch of Halloween related things, and obviously Halloween is over, but just since we were just talking about, you know, kids getting candy that killed them and things like that, I did a post on Halloween about all of the different links to stories for, I mean, anyone that's in the gross room really usually is a Halloween all year person like myself. So you might enjoy that and check it out. We also have a post that, you know, if you go to a circus or something and you see a woman, it's usually put on a wheel and they spin the wheel, and then there's a guy that's like throwing knives around her body.
Yeah.
So what happens when one of those knives actually hits the body?
That is one of the nastiest pictures I've ever seen in there. It's so gross.
No, it's really disturbing. And like, I mean, we do have a few circus. We actually, I think we did a high profile dissection on circus stuff with injuries, and then just like one of the cool parts of that one was all of the cool like pathologies that people had, the human mermaid and the woman with the beard and all this different stuff. So I think it's kind of cool.
Yeah, head over to thegrossroom.com now to sign up.
All right, so back in September of 2024, we talked about this anal breathing.
Okay, so Japanese and US researchers have developed a treatment for people who can't breathe through their lungs, and they're calling it butt breathing. So what did we talk about before versus now?
So I guess this guy, this Japanese scientist, has won a prize because he figured out this technology that a lot of animals actually breathe through their anus. So they're trying to hope to see or get some oxygen through their anus. They're trying to hope to see if they could figure that out in humans, because that would be a huge step in trying to help people that are having difficulty breathing or that cannot get oxygen in through their mouth. So that was what we talked about last year, just that he has discovered that this might be a thing for humans as well. Now, fast forward, they're starting to get into the testing phase of this to see if they could actually bring this scientific research to life. And they did this study where they got a bunch of guys who volunteered. They were, let me see if it said 27 healthy men. They inserted this thing inside of their rectum and they put this fluid up there. And this wasn't the fluid that will be used in the future with oxygen in it, because the hope is that they'll be able to put this fluid up inside the rectum, and this fluid will get absorbed into the intestinal wall, and it will take that oxygen rich fluid and bring it to the body and the circulatory system and around to the organs. So that's like their end goal. But right now they just want to see that people can tolerate getting fluid up their butt like that. So they had these 27 guys volunteer, and they put this big, large amount of this viscous, like thick, like I don't want to, like honey, like, like a thicker fluid, not honey because that's kind of sticky, but just like a thicker fluid up inside of their rectum, and 20 of them were able to tolerate it for 1 hour, and they said that it was uncomfortable, but it didn't cause any damage, and like they survived it. And so they think that that's a good step, that now they could see that people can tolerate having the fluid up there for an hour. So now they want to try to do it with the actual real fluid to see if there is oxygen transport through the intestinal wall and into the body.
So what are they trying to do with this? Like, is it for daily use for people that struggle breathing, or is it for emergency situations?
No, it's just for any kind of treatment where it's difficult to get air into the lungs through the mouth, lung disease, infections, anything like that. So it's just kind of a bypass of the lungs and the typical way that we think of breathing and oxygen exchange for now, because right now when you breathe, there's oxygen exchange that happens in the lungs. But if the lungs are so damaged and that can't happen, a person could end up dying because of that. So if they're able to get oxygen into the blood a different kind of way, I mean, that could be, and I'm totally don't even know this, but just speaking out of term of like COVID and stuff, like when the lungs are so damaged, like if there was a way for the lungs to heal and not have to carry on that oxygen exchange while it was happening in another way, that could be like a life-changing thing for reversible lung damage anyway.
So do you think they're going to rename it to something other than butt breathing? Because sounds kind of insane.
Well, this actual procedure is called enteral ventilation. So instead of, you would say, like you hear of a ventilator and stuff, we heard that a lot during COVID. That is when it is put into the mouth. This is going into the enteric system or the GI system, and it does have a different name. But butt breathing is definitely more catchy.
All right. In Texas, a house went into a foreclosure and eventually was sold at an auction. So last week, the new homeowner goes into the house and finds the previous 69-year-old homeowner dead on the living room carpet, just feet from the front door. And the worst part is that the HOA was like, well, we were sending notices of past dues and she wasn't getting back to us, and the mail carrier was noticing a piling up of her mail, but nobody checked on her.
Yeah, I just think it's crazy that you could put a house up for foreclosure and then auction and nobody even walks through it to see like what happened to the homeowner.
That's what I was gonna say. And they're like, oh, we're trying to contact next of kin so we could figure out why nobody reported her missing. Why weren't the neighbors worried about her if her mail was obviously piling up and she stopped paying her bills clearly?
I feel like this is just like a freak thing because this would happen more often with elderly people especially.
I just can't. I agree with you 100%. I can't believe they can auction off a house and not go inside.
Yeah, like what if there was a crime there or something or anything?
Well, there was a dead
It's
person
kind of
involved.
it's
with
kind of
this.
exciting though. Like if you buy houses that are auctioned, it's just like you just have no idea what you're gonna find when you walk in. That's like kind of exciting.
But you also just bought a house that you didn't even see the inside.
Well, yeah, because like you buy it. It doesn't matter what the inside looks like. You get it really cheap, and it might be in a good neighborhood, and maybe your intentions are just like gut it or knock it down anyway. So like, who cares?
I don't know. This just kind of made me really sad that nobody cared enough, first of all, to report this lady missing, and that her neighbors were just like, oh, we totally noticed all these problems, but nobody checked on her.
Yeah, you would think like, especially mailmen. We could talk to Mike, our mailman, about this, but he even knows like if we're away for like 1 or 2 nights, he'll like say something like, "Did you guys go away?" Like they notice patterns of how people do things, right?
Yeah.
And that should be like the number one clue when people aren't collecting their mail that they're either on an extended trip or they're dead. Like
Yeah,
what else could it be?
Obviously, you shouldn't sound an alarm after 3 days because somebody could just be on vacation. But if it's turning into like over a week, 2 weeks, a month, they said this lady could have been there for several weeks, up to months.
Well, yeah, and she wasn't paying her mortgage. That's how they foreclosed on the house.
It had to be so long.
I know, right?
I don't know. It really just bums me out to just think you could just be laying there and just nobody cares.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know what condition this woman was in. But I'm saying that it probably wasn't good. And then, yeah, like this guy just bought this house and now he's got to call like a crime scene cleaning place to get the decomp smell out if possible.
It's just unacceptable.
Yeah, it really is.
All right, guys, don't forget to enter our anniversary giveaway. So as a reminder, the grand prize is going to be dinner with us sometime in January and February in Philadelphia, a free year of the Gross Room, and a signed book. And then there are 2 other prizes, which will be a signed book and a little something extra thrown in for you guys. So to enter the contest, you're going to head over to Apple, write a written review, head over to Spotify, leave a review, or go to our YouTube channel and subscribe. Screenshot that and email it to stories@motherknowsdeath. Please keep it to 1 submission per person. We'd really appreciate that, and we wish you the best of luck.
Have a good weekend, guys. Thank you for listening to Mother Knows Death. As a reminder, my training is as a pathologist assistant. I have a master's level education and specialize in anatomy and pathology education. I am not a doctor and I have not diagnosed or treated anyone, dead or alive, without the assistance of a licensed medical doctor. This show, my website, and social media accounts are designed to educate and inform people based on my experience working in pathology so they can make healthier decisions regarding their life and well-being. Always remember that science is changing every day, and the opinions expressed in this episode are based on my knowledge of those subjects at the time of publication. If you are having a medical problem, have a medical question, or are having a medical emergency, please contact your physician or visit an urgent care center, emergency room, or hospital. Please rate, review, and subscribe to Mother Knows Death on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or anywhere you get podcasts. Thanks.